This podcast is the sole property of Proud Sports. Our thoughts and opinions are our own.
They say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king.
It's time for another Proud Panthers podcast. And would you think it? Last time you potentially heard from me was the Spaces live on X post game. I was looking forward to the Carolina Panthers playing to try to make their way into the playoffs. Well, guess what? They lost as I predicted, but the Atlanta Falcons won as I predicted on my Saturday radio show, and so they get in anyways. The good news is my other Panthers favorite, the High Point University Panthers, won their game on Saturday, the same day that the Carolina Panthers were playing in their final regular season game. And High Point won. They beat Longwood 80-67 inside the Cobain Center. And what that means is now High Point is 2-0. And this podcast is the home of everything about High Point University basketball. I am Steven with you, and thanks for following along with us. If it is your first time with us, I hope you'll follow me on X at Steven Beck PS. That's where we have all those spaces. And we also have an X for the podcast at Proud Panthers, plus a whole website, proudsports.com, with blogs and other things on there, including lots of High Point University coverage. So go and give it a look. We're going to talk about High Point's win against Longwood. We're also going to hear from Brian Wilmer, who we shared a bit of our conversation that we've had with him already in a Proud Panthers podcast. He is at Sports Matters on X, a great resource when it comes to following the Big South Conference, but he has more for us today. Plus, we have words from Coach Clayman after High Point beat the Lancers. So all of that is coming up in just a moment.
High Point University, the premier life skills university, is ranked the #1 best-run college in America by the Princeton Review. Employers value HPU's real-world preparation. Students love unprecedented access to global leaders on High Point's inspiring campus. And parents appreciate HPU's God, family, and country values. Choose to be extraordinary at High Point University.
Wake up the Carolina way. Hi, this is Steven Beck. Join me every Saturday morning for Waking Up Proud. We've got local eats, hot sport takes, and a whole lot of Triad and Carolina flavor. From barbecue debates to big game breakdowns, we've got your Saturday mornings covered. Wake up, chow down, and cheer on. Carolina mornings start here with Waking Up Proud. Saturday mornings, 9 to 11 on WSJS. The morning show that feels like... Back on another episode of the Proud Panthers podcast. We appreciate all of our followers, and we've got a lot on today's episode. So really excited about this one. Not that others aren't great. Would always encourage folks to go back into our archives on proudsports.com, especially where we've joined our team, the players, the coaches, and spent time with them. All of those are really good episodes. But today, part of this episode is some time that I recently spent with Brian Wilmer, who is a writer for college basketball. He really does a good job covering a lot of areas that don't get the predominant coverage, following teams like Queens out of the Atlantic Sun and all the Big South schools as well. And so in our recent time that we spent, because we're still really at the beginning of the Big South Conference schedule, I wanted to get his thoughts to really lay the landscape for us. Yeah, I know and follow High Point. I try to keep an eye out on a lot of the other Big South League members, like I'm sure many Panthers fans do. But when it really comes down to relying on some good information, Brian's the guy to go to. So we're looking to the Big South slate here. Really, like I said, at recording time, we're just one game in for the conference play. And High Point is, I would say, still a very clear, obvious favorite, in my opinion. I'm sure you would agree with that. They are, I'm not naive. They're going to lose somewhere. It's just a matter of where and how and what that exactly looks like, in my opinion. But aside from that, what do you think of the Big South? Catch us back up where maybe we're missing some things. I mean, right now, as we look at it, Charleston Southern with their 10 wins and then the first win in conference play for themselves sit in the second slot. I would still say, personally, Winthrop would be the team that I would probably put up there, totally based off of just feeling over, the records. But just give us your thoughts overall for the whole league, where you think I need to know things and where we might be missing stuff.
I will take you back a few years to start this conversation where we had the 7-way tie atop the Big South. I think we're kind of there right now. We were doing tier lists before the season and, kind of putting together tiers of the league. I think right now, if you did a tier list, you would have High Point, all the way at the top. And then everybody else is kind of in this big free for all in the middle toward the bottom of the league. Every team in this league has a reason to think they can make a sneaky run to March. Every team in this league has a fatal flaw that is going to prevent it from doing so. So that, I think, is the key thing to take away here. You look at Charleston Southern. I mean, we talked about them as a great story, and they are. And Sa was excited about this team before the season with good reason. But then you're down 15 to Gardner Webb in Boiling Springs and have to race back and outscore them 51-25 or whatever it was in the second half to win that game. That's something to cause concern. Winthrop goes to Farmville on Wednesday. Logan Duncombe has 31 points and 13 rebounds, and the rest of the team shoots 17.4% outside of him. I've talked about how Winthrop doesn't have a consistent third scorer. Right now, they don't have a consistent second scorer, which is a problem. Dalen Berry and Kareem Rozier combined to shoot 4 for 23, which is also 17.4%. It's the other thing that I saw from our friend Jeremy, who runs Blogging the Woo. They were 3 for 22 from 2-point range. That's inexcusable. I'll use Mark Prosser's words. That can't happen anywhere. You can't do that. Presbyterian, I saw Presbyterian against the Citadel, and the Citadel is, people will say, well, they're the bottom of the SoCon, fine, but they completely locked down the Citadel. They had nearly a double kill shot at the start of that game. They were up, I think, 19-0 at one point, and they have a star-studded front court in Jonah Pierce and Jalen Peterson and all these guys that are all league guys or could be, and they have good guard play, Josh Pickett and guys like that in their backcourt. But again, they go through times where they kind of trip over themselves at times, which is going to happen. I will quote Chris Holtman he told me this in 2012, I believe it was. The toughest part of my job is to get 18 to 22-year-old kids to play basketball for 40 minutes. And that's kind of where you are with everybody in this league. It's even happened with High Point. We saw that when they played App State. We saw that when they played UAB. To your point, there is a reason to say if the right thing breaks for this team, they could go to the NCAA tournament. There's a reason to say if the wrong thing breaks for this team, they could lose by 20 in the first round of the tournament. So I think that's the thing that makes handicapping this league so tough, is that everybody's looked really good and everybody's looked really bad at one point or another.
That was Brian Wilmer, again, at Sports Matters on X. And if you want a full glimpse of that whole conversation, then I encourage go to proudsports.com. We have the whole link there for you where you can hear our full conversation. Actually, I'll go ahead and tease as well that after that response from Brian you just heard, I asked him if he really genuinely felt that even a team like Gardner Webb at this point in the season where they sit, 2 wins alone for their resume thus far, if he really felt like they even felt confident at all that they would have a chance in the league. And so if you want to hear his response to that amongst the rest of the conversation, then I encourage you to do that. Now, after our High Point Panthers beat Longwood, a sneaky good rivalry game for those that don't follow college basketball very closely, we're going to talk and break down more about it, as well as get set and ready for the next game against Gardner-Webb, speaking of the Running Bulldogs. But after High Point's win in this latest one, we caught up with head coach Flynn Clayman. Post-game after High Point wins today inside the Cobain Center, final score 80-67. The Panthers now 2-0 in the Big South Conference and 14 wins now by double digits. Coach, thanks for joining us. How do you feel after getting this win today?
Getting a win against Longwood always feels good. You know, it was a tough, gritty game, but I'm proud of our team's effort.
Do you feel it like I do? I felt like today inside the Cobain Center, and High Point fans, they know this Longwood team over the past 2.5, 3 years especially. It's just like something extra in the air. Do you feel that? Does the team feel that, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, they rose up in the conference. They went to the NCAA tournament, and then we rose up in the conference, and we won the regular season, and then they upset us, and that added kind of to the rivalry situation. And then, you know, we come back the following year and win. So they've come back again with another really good basketball team. You know, that's a great program, well coached. They were tough. They were tough to beat today, so it's gonna continue to be a good rivalry.
Terry, of course, led the team in scoring today, but you and I both, we've already touched on this previously, but again, I have to acknowledge it. I know the work that he's put in from coming back specifically from an injury where he was limited last season when he played for us. It's got to feel good for you, who's helping him get back in the right shape, but him and the whole team to be able to see that story.
Yeah, I mean, I would take the story even further. I mean, that's a kid who had 0 Division I offers out of high school, and he didn't even really have good JUCO offers. He had to go to a Division II JUCO. And me and him we're going to have a lifelong bond. That was a kid that I saw on a side court that people were saying, you know, no good players over there. And I'm watching a guy just hustle and get after it with length. And, you know, for the story to have transpired out as it already has with him coming up big in the conference tournament championship, and then now for him to get this extra JUCO year that he got and to be one of our best players, you know, if we finish this thing right, you can make a movie about it probably.
Now, I know you're a process-oriented guy. You're also very keen on handling things the right way. And also on the offensive side, you have a really good handle of things. How good for you personally does it feel being up by, 12, 15 points in the second half, being able to put on the brakes and still close it out the right way?
Yeah, I mean, it feels better than it being one possession, I can tell you that. But when you're playing Longwood, or any team for that matter, but especially Longwood with their physicality, you gotta stay on edge till that buzzer goes off, because they can force turnovers quickly, as we've experienced in the past. So I thought our guys, once we got that lead, handled it real well.
Well, thank you again for joining us. We'll see you back here on Wednesday night taking on Gardner-Webb.
Thank you. Go Panthers.
That was head coach of High Point, Flynn Clayman, joining us after High Point beats Longwood 80-67. Now the Panthers 2-0 in the Big South Conference, plus all 14 of our wins are by double digits. And, man, we're just in a really good, solid spot. We'll talk about the game coming up with Gardner-Webb. Plus, there's a lot of questions right now, and I've had a lot of questions zooming to me. And I shared this on our Spaces after the game, but something kind of cool that associates back with my Saturday radio show is that now I have a text line that's up all the time for sports fans, for fans of any of the stuff that I'm doing, to shoot me a message, ask me questions, give me comments, thoughts on things. And I'd love to answer them or address them at different opportunities. And so if you are intrigued at that and you're a listener to this and you ever have questions, text us at 347-9807. Again, that's 336-347-9807. And man, that's a great opportunity to get some questions in. But also I get a lot on X at Stephen Beck PS as well. So we're going to answer a couple questions, but just to kind of wrap up the game with Longwood, one that, again, as I already stated, could easily be just skipped over by the general observer. But for High Point fans, And I'll even go a step further. The ones that were inside the Cobain Center again on Saturday for this game, something's in the air. You heard me mention it there to Coach Kleiman. It was palpable to me how that game, out of all the other games we've had at home this season, just something extra was in it. And it wasn't even our biggest crowd of the season, to be honest. Glad to see that the cheer squads and bands and all that stuff's back. That feels like a better environment. I know the students are closely following behind, and so that'll add to this. Hopefully, I don't know if they'll be back by Gardner Webb on Wednesday or not, but I would go on record to say that even if they are, because of the opponent, Longwood, and all the little things that go with this matchup, there's something extra here between these two teams. And I could see it really even in the way that these players are playing, which strangely enough for me is interesting when you really drive down into it, because 90% of the ones on the floor for this game don't have that association with one another. In college basketball today, there's so much movement, less so on the Longwood side. They did have some good carryover, but from our High Point team, you got Braden, you got Chase, really those two, J.I., I guess, but he didn't play minutes in this game. Those are the only ones that really have this back and forth from just even last season where things weren't as bad. You don't have anybody there from 2 seasons ago when High Point, we kind of got punked inside of our own facility trying to get to the Big South Championship game. One very clear absentee from this game, and one of the questions that I immediately got while the game was going on, Cam Fletcher, where's he at? Now, if you follow me on X at Stephen Beck PS, you would have seen this already, but in just trying to make sure everybody that is a Panthers fan and is curious, they all get the same information. And right now, the official word from our High Point program is that it's an inter-program matter that is being managed. I know that Cam was ill with the flu. That weaved its way through the team, through coaches and players. So I know Chase was ill. I know Rob missed a game and was ill. I also know like Coach Thomas and I think Coach Fletcher, maybe some others that were in there that I've missed, all came down with this flu illness. And actually, my other shows and stuff that I do cover North Carolina news in total. And so the CDC has come out and said that North Carolina, our state, is in a high spread rate now for the flu. So it's going around. And it is something that was real and happened with Cam as well. This go around, like I said, official statement is it's an inter-team matter. And they're doing whatever it is to manage that. I know people go further than that. They say, well, is he still on the team? I also was told that he's still on the team. But we can play the games. Just for me, Chase, his talent, his abilities, they are the best on the team for natural basketball ability. I would loosely compare him for High Point fans to Kamani Hamilton, different in terms of stature and ability in ways. Like I feel like Cam, I'd probably bet on Cam with the 3-point shot over Kamani. I'd probably say that Cam, with the extra size that he has and muscle, I'd also say that I probably feel like he can take people to the basket a little bit easier than even Kamani could. But where I compare the two of them is both very immensely talented when it comes to just straight up playing basketball. Both, in my opinion, a little bit of a wild card in personality. if you've been around and know Kamani at all, I mean, he likes to joke and he says what's on his mind. He kind of did what he wanted to do in ways, kind of a little loosey-goosey is probably the best way to put it. When I've been in practices and around Cam, I get that same kind of feeling. I'll give you an example just straight on, which is cool. I mean, it's fine with me. I'm loose and easy a lot of times too. But in a media session after one of the games that Cam took part in, generally speaking, my questions during that portion are very limited, if at all. If I'm in there with a High Point Enterprise, writer, they do the lion's share of questions. They're trying to get an article written. A lot of times, coverage of the team. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's not where it needs to be. And a lot of times it's just me and that other reporter for the High Point Enterprise in the room as the media. And, they get their questions out of the way. I am blessed, as I've stated many times, with the opportunity to speak to the coaches at other times. I've been around the players at other times. And so I try to stay out of the way during the season and the games, but long way to say, I don't have to rifle off my questions right then. And back to the point of Cam, he's in there. He gets all these questions from the High Point Enterprise writer. And normally the players are like, beep, said what I'm going to say, and I'm out. And that's totally cool. I'd be the same way. I'm ready to go get some grub, man. I just went to war for 40 minutes, and I probably, haven't eaten and stuff as much as what I'd like to. I'm ready to go get a shower, ready to eat, and get out. Cam, after receiving all those questions, looks at me because I didn't have any and was like, you ain't got any questions? That's just a small little example to say he's kind of just a wild card. He's got that personality. Where that plays in to team dynamics, I'm not going to try to fill in those blanks. What I'm going to say is you got to go forward because nobody's bigger than the team. And like I said, if you want to play the what if game on Cam, you can say, okay, what if he is off the team? Let's go there. Let's say he's not on the team anymore. He was our leading scorer. He's not on the team. That's sad. It's sad for anybody because these guys begin their whole practice and program workings way back in spring, summer time before we get all the way here. And dude, if you've never been a part of collegiate athletics, and when I was a part of collegiate athletics, it was not even on the scale or the platform that our High Point Panthers are at today in 2026. When I was a part of it in 2007 and 8 and 9, it just wasn't where we're at. And it was life. Eat, sleep, breathe, college basketball. Everybody's at home for Christmas. I don't care. You're on campus. Everybody's at home during the summer. Yeah, those are individual workouts and summer team camps and all the other stuff. Oh, you want to be a part of those clubs and that other thing that's happening? Probably don't have time. And now the players and the staff do a much better job of getting up numbers of shots and being in the gym at other portions of the time, watching film and going over things and doing individual stuff, weight training and all the things that are out there. So it'd be sad because they've bound to have created this bond, and it's really like a family. It becomes that way because that's who you're around all the time. So that portion would be sad. Otherwise, though, if he's off the team, then he's off the team in my eyes. No one player is the team. And I don't really care that he was the team leading scorer from that perspective, because when it comes down to the full length of a schedule, not just one game, but the whole collection, postseason tournaments, if we can get there, you got to rely on a lot more than one guy. It's always that way. I just know that the team dynamic of guys that are really balled in and they'll do whatever it is to make things work much more successful than, oh, hey, we're all disjointed, but we have all the best players here. So that's if he's not a part of the team. And we trust and rely on the depth that we have. I'll say that as well. Just like against Longwood, sure, it would have been helpful to have Cam there, and I'm all for it. But if we're going down that rabbit hole and we're playing the what-if game, then, again, Owen, he picked up his game. Probably to a level that some people that haven't watched him and been paying really close attention to, just like I said about Scotty against UNC Asheville, they would be a little bit surprised with Owen. But I am with what Coach Klayman shared in the media portion, if you call that, on High Point Panthers website after this game. Owen could score like this more regularly, but he does things best for the team. And you can see, if you just watch, he's very, very good about in his back down, in his post work, eyes up, looking and scanning the rest of the floor to have options if he would like to use them. And a lot of times he will. And honestly, what's kind of sad here is a lot of times it works to the benefit of Cam, because Cam and Owen, they have a really good rapport, and Owen finds Cam a lot. But yesterday we rely a little bit more on Owen. And this is in a game where Elijah Tucker is Longwood's best player. Well, guess what? For him, he was minus 12. He only had 2 rebounds, and he only ended up with 8 points. If anything else to try to tie up that game that I would have liked to have seen happen, it would be that we would have fouled him out. We got 4 fouls on Elijah Tucker, and I know it didn't really play in or end up mattering, but man, you know, when you got a guy like that on the ropes and he is their premier player, and again, Longwood, they got to play without guys too. Go back to that opinion of mine, but I'm just saying it would be nice to try to really attack that guy. Let's get him fouled out of the game. Terry Anderson, again, you heard me ask Coach Klayman about Terry, and Terry is like the epitome right now of what everything that is about college basketball is great. There's a lot right now that I am really pissed off about with college basketball and professional guys coming back and all the other nonsense and stuff that's out there. But when you're able as a fan to watch a guy that has been with your program a little bit now, and you can see them completely transform themselves from one season to the next. And I sat down and had these conversations with Terry about last year and struggles and pains and trying to work through injuries. And you even hear it further from Coach Klayman that this is somebody that other coaches were like, yeah, you don't even need to bother watching that other floor over there. There's nobody over there that you need to worry about recruiting. Well, Terry was over there. And now look at him. He scores a career-high 29 points yesterday, and that's on 10 of 14 shooting. Very efficient. 8 for 8, 100% from the free throw line. And I don't care about all that. 8 rebounds. He had 3 steals. He had some assists in there. He's doing everything. He's asked about it after the game. I'm happy we won. And I know that is legit the Terry that I have interacted with and I've seen in practice. I mean, he wants to score, sure, but that's helping the team win. He wants the team to be successful. And Chase Johnston is the other questions that I've gotten stuff about. We're talking about depth. It goes right to that. But I want to finish up on the what ifs with Cam. What if he's still on the team? That's great. That's awesome. But I'm here to say, for Cam's sake and our team, he's got to be bought in. It's got to be him that is equally bought in. It's just like a marriage, just like a friendship. You can't have it be one-sided. It's never going to work that way. Everybody has to be bought in and an equal mano-a-mano type relationship for it to really be good, a good thing. If he's not bought in, that's not going to be good. I've been there as an employee before. Man, I'm just unhappy, and Mondays are my least favorite day. Fridays are my favorite day, and this place is just, it's no good. Did I really do my best work when I felt like that? No. But when you're bought in and you're like, man, this is a family, and this is what we're working for this greater good, and we're all about this, and everything's good, and I'm going to do all I can to try to be a part of this and help and do those things. So if he's on the team, that's where I hope his mindset is. And I hope the team also wraps around him again and says, hey, we all make mistakes. Let's work it out. Let's be together, mano y mano, both working at this. So official statement is he's still on the team. It was an inter-team matter. They're working through it. That's where we sit as I record this podcast. Now, Chase has already said is the other question that we get a lot of. Where's Chase been? You know, he was started a lot last season, returned. Where's he been? Part of this mid-stretch of the season, hasn't had as many minutes. Some games hadn't even played. So from the official statement on Chase, it is that he is still overcoming some illness. As I already mentioned, he was one of those that came down with that flu. Dealing with that, really good veteran guy. He's going to take on more of a load management type role with this team. And that's okay. For reasons that I've shared in previous episodes that I'm not going to dive fully back into now. But as I've stated, if he just looks at his buddy Trey and he says, man, Trey just did whatever it was to help this team. I know Chase can do that. Locked down, lights out shooter from three. Made our only 3-bucket against Longwood in the second half yesterday. Those shots will come in handy, and they'll be there and they'll happen. But he also came out and defended his heart out. In the 5 minutes that he played in this game, he was +8 for our Panthers team. Got a shout out from Coach Klayman in the postgame. Got a shout out from Owen in the postgame. Because that depth, that if Cam is not a part of the team or anybody else, we got to fall back and rely on it. And these guys, they're even load management roles. I've, been blue in the face talking about Caden and Yusuf, and if J.I. is a part of that discussion as well when it comes to spelling some of these other guys, the opportunity that sits there for them, everybody can play that role. They just got to know and buy into that role. And I know with Chase, his beliefs, who he is as a guy, really nice, down-to-earth dude, has great character and great beliefs that I share and admire. Because of all that, he's going to be there, and he's good. He'll do what the team needs him and asks him to do without hearing all the drama and all the buzz and all the other stuff. So that is after Longwood's game. I hope I've answered as much of these questions as I can. As already stated, though, anytime you have them, rifle them to me. 336-347-9807. That's an open text line all the time. We look ahead on our schedule here for High Point, and we have another Big South matchup. That's the way that we go the rest of this season. This one also inside the Quabain Center on Wednesday night, a game where we're taking on Gardner Webb. And Gardner Webb, they're cakewalk. They are. I will say now, we have zero business losing to Gardner Webb at home. They've won 2 games against Brevard and Toccoa Falls, whatever that is. They've lost to places like North Greenville. They've lost to Elon. They've lost to UNC Wilmington, who we played in the exhibition. So they've lost all these other games, including their first 2 games in the Big South. Both of those, they were in them. I will say that. They were beating Charleston Southern, and they were also beating Winthrop at one point or another. But as Brian shared with me in the conversation that you can hear the whole part of on ProudSports.com, these are guys that they were leftovers on the NIL. Jeremy Luther, head coach of the Bulldogs, basically said, we're taking guys that we don't have to pay. With 2 wins, High Point has zero business losing this game. Now, does that mean that we can just sit back and no? Just like the times that we played Pfeiffer or we played whoever. got to stay locked in. You got to stay focused. Use it as an opportunity at home to continue to improve, get better, work on the things, DNA stuff that you know that, man, this is what we're about. This is what we got to do, because following up after that, you're tough. Winthrop, Charleston Southern. So you can't breathe easy. You just got to realize there's no business that we lose to Gardner Webb. We'll have a Spaces after that game that I hope you'll take part in at Stephen Beck PS on that. Blogs and stuff up on ProudSports.com, plus another podcast coming your way on Friday right here, Proud Panthers Podcast.